Hello and welcome back to Holistic Aquila. Today's video is going to be on how trauma can manifest into illness and how it can manifest throughout the body. I feel really drawn to do this video just now as I've had a lot of experience with different pain and illness throughout my body, which I've always thought has been manifested through trauma. And maybe not so much trauma. I originally thought it was just through like stress and strain and how my mental health and my physical health were really linked in with each other. And 2 days ago, I saw a Chinese herbal practitioner, and we went through like a bunch of questions to do with my health. And I told her bits and pieces. And she kind of went through like a list of questions, and she went through different parts of my body, and she was like, so do you have this? Do you have this? How do you feel with this? And as she was asking all the questions, my answer was yes to pretty much all of them. And she seems to be the only person who seems to be able to offer me some guidance on how everything is linked in together, because I have been through many doctors, specialists, and not much of a resolution really. So no one's really brought everything together. So in terms of how physical things have impacted me, I'll start off with the kind of lesser ones that affect me and then go into the more extreme that has affected me. So lesser would affect me as in my immune system was really bad. I was having a lot of food intolerances. My immune system is generally bad, so I get colds all the time, I'd get ill all the time, I'd often have a sore throat, prone to infections, water infections, and so on and so forth. Then it kind of got to the more extremes where it was like crippling pain throughout my body, in different places, joint pain, and then I started having really low blood pressure. I started fainting frequently, and then I started to, oh, I've just turned on my TV, sorry. And then I turned into having a lot of seizures. Initially, I had no idea what was going on. They kind of started really, really quickly. And I started experiencing, complete loss of sensation throughout my body. And I would have these seizures up to 20 times a day. I also had glandular fever. And then after that, I had really, really bad fatigue and have been was bedbound for months, and it's impacted me for many years. They're just some of the physical things. There's a lot around that. So if she goes into specifics of different parts of my body, we start picking up different things like my endometriosis, my cysts on my ovaries, my unexplained nerve pain. So I didn't really want to go into all of that. That was just, so it was a little bit helpful if you're experiencing some of those symptoms, so you can maybe relate. Heart palpitations, I missed that one out. So I've been under the care of like neurologists, cardiologists, gynecologists, urologists, psychologists, psychiatrists, you name it. And yeah, I'm still struggling, still done all the recommended treatments. I am getting better, but I'm not quite there. So my whole shift of focus has gone completely from Western medicine into Eastern medicine. And she basically just said at the end of the treatment, I didn't go over any past history to do with my trauma. But the first thing she asked me was, have you had trauma? And I'm pretty open about my trauma. I was like, yeah, I've had quite a lot of trauma in my life, several sexual assaults and several traumatic events throughout my life, starting from a very young age. And straight up, she was like, your body's riddled with trauma and it's manifesting. Lots of interesting books you can read on that. The Body Keeps the Score. I'm really rubbish at reading books all the way through because I have really bad ADHD. But from what I did read of that, it was quite good. There's the holistic psychologist, everyone goes on about her. She's quite good. She goes on about how basically mental health and physical health are really heavily linked in with each other. But then if you kind of go into the likes of the Wim Hof method, the guy who does all the breathing techniques and cold water and ice submersions, it's all about relearning how your nervous system works. So everything comes down to retraining your nervous system. So anyway, I've got a bunch of herbs that are for my specific conditions. And basically, I'm also diagnosed with bipolar and PTSD. And if you take away the labels symptomatically, it's a disturbance in energy, if you will, and a disturbance in chi, and a disturbance in your nervous system regulation. So I got to doing more research, and bipolar doesn't even exist in Chinese medicine. But they do talk about mania and they do talk about depression. And it basically states something along the lines of when your body's in a state of depression, it's because you've got low chi, low energy. And when your body's in a state of mania, it's because you've got too much heat in your body. And that builds up as fire, and it also builds up as mania. And body can only sustain itself in that state for such a while, and then it goes back to being depressed, low in chi. So I found it all very interesting, and I will be doing more and more research into it. But my whole life revolves around finding alternative holistic treatments for not only my health ailments, but similarly those who've got other mental health problems and chronic conditions that can't necessarily be explained by Western medicine. So I'm trying to kind of look at things less from the symptomatic approach in Western medicine of, right, let's treat this with this medicine, let's treat this with that medicine, and trying to look at it more from a point of, right, what's the core issue here? What's the reoccurring theme? And that is unresolved trauma. Don't get me wrong, I've had lots of therapy, and I revolve my life around alternative treatments such as Reiki, energy healing, massage, reflexology, and meditation. So yeah, it can be really frustrating. But for a long time, I was kind of looking at my individual diagnosis, and if I were to look at what they all are, it's probably more than 10. I don't even like to think. I try not to focus on that too much anymore, because when I focus on an individual diagnosis or problem, I end up getting overwhelmed and worked up and trying to how can I control that. And so far, all the doctors have offered me is a lot of painkillers and a lot of really heavy psychiatric drugs. And they come with a lot of side effects, and I'm really tired of the side effects that I'm experiencing. So I'm trying to go away from your traditional medicine route and into the holistic route. My herbs come on Wednesday, so I will be able to keep you updated on how that works in terms of a general overview on, like anxiety, and whether, my health conditions are easing off in terms of like my fatigue, generalized things that we all experience. So I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you. But fundamentally, if you have trauma, it manifests in all kinds of crazy ways. In terms of a scientific approach to how it manifests in the body, it's like your amygdala stops working as it should normally in a fight or flight response, and it basically becomes triggered by everyday stresses or whatever triggers you might have. So for one person might be able to deal with, you know, the sound of a bus going past really loudly behind you. That's nothing to someone, but to another person who might have sensory problems or who might have had past trauma, that could be a trigger. And instead of your brain processing that through your prefrontal cortex, where your brain is able to rationalize it and be like, oh, it's just a bus, no worries, keep going on, your amygdala fires away. And your amygdala doesn't have the ability to rationalize as quickly. It sends a rush of cortisol through your body, which is the stress hormone, and adrenaline goes through your body, and you are constantly in this heightened state. And now that can cause all kinds of problems, because there's only so long that your body can live in such a heightened state for before it becomes absolutely exhausted. So when we hear of people having conditions like fibromyalgia and ME, and having fatigue, joint pain, stomach problems, food intolerances, chronic migraines, headaches, unexplained pain, the list goes on. There's many things. That's just the few that I'm thinking of. It's all so heavily linked in. So what we're actually looking at here is something far more complex than, okay, there's a symptom, there's a symptom, there's a symptom, there's a drug that treats that symptom, there's a drug that treats that symptom. Go back to basics and look what's causing all of this, and let's address it at the root cause. So yeah, that's where the techniques that I know and learned so far, meditation, cold water submersion, so the Wim Hof method. I love to jump in the sea, and it helps regulate my breathing and my nervous system. I'm a trained Reiki master, soon to be. Wednesday I get attuned to my master's level. So I'm constantly doing energy healing on myself. I often go and see other people who do energy healing on me. Massage, all these things. So I think it's just really good to think outside of the box and also educate ourselves. So there's so much material out there on how we're kind of being let down by Western medicine and how it's not working for us. You hear the same complaints again and again with people with these kind of conditions. There is hope. There is other people who are out there who are addressing this from the core issue, and there are other people who are trying to do the same. I'm about to start some EMDR therapy as well, which is eye movement desensitization regulation, I believe. Basically, it's for processing trauma. It helps stop that amygdala response that I was on about before, and helps your brain process things in a more neurotypical way, which prevents you from going into this flight or fight response so regularly. But yes, I hope to keep you updated on my journey and tips. I've got so many for you, but I think I'd just do a brief overview in this video. And in the next video, I'm going to go into how diet can help control things, alternative medicine, alternative treatments, other books. I'll do some looking into, see what other books that I've read. And yeah, just any sort of other exercises that are helpful. But for now, anyone can meditate, or try to at least. That's a really great start. Having a look at the diet, cutting out things that are going to feed into that nervous system response, and looking at different herbs and supplements too, which I'm a big fan of, so I'll go into all that in another video. Thanks so much for watching today. I hope you're doing good wherever you are, and I'll catch you soon. Thanks.